Maybe it's easy to love life when things go well for you, when you see the beautiful side of it. What about when you see the tragedy, suffering? Would you still have the courage to love life? Let's talk about it.
This is a beautiful thought.
Welcome, beautiful, beauteous, coolestness people to listen to a beautiful thought. I was thinking about this time. The first time I ever went to Medellín. Beautiful Medellín. What a city. Sometimes it's like walk outside the front door when I was staying in the hills near El Poblado and walk out the front door, walk up to the street just a little bit and look out over the city and just mountains all around, surrounding the city, just in the middle of this valley. It's literally like you're looking into a painting. I mean, it looks like a painting when you see that scenery. And I had a great time there. I met some wonderful people. And as I mentioned before, people were very hospitable, very kind to me. Well, for the most part, you have to watch out. You have to check your six. But people were very kind to me, extraordinarily kind. And I remember one day I went downtown. I wanted to buy some sage to smudge my room a little bit. So I went, I think I got off at San Antonio Station. And they have the overhead train there, the metro. And I'm walking down the steps of the station. And I look around me. And I see this big plaza, and I see there's so many people, and I think, wow, maybe there's some beautiful women that I can talk to in this plaza. It's Colombia, after all. And I walk down, and I notice actually a lot of the people in the plaza, well, they're not beautiful women. A lot of them are homeless people and people with severe maladies. I walked along the side of the plaza and I saw this man with boils and strange bumps all over his body, begging for money. And I was so alarmed, entered into this state of cultural shock. I didn't know what to think about this whole thing. And later, much later, I reflected upon this experience and I thought, well, I had to see that. I really had to see that to understand Medellín. Like, it's fine for me to live in El Poblado, stay in El Poblado, and think that everything is fine in this nice part of the city where tourists come and drink in cafes at Juan Valdez and this type of thing, and go to the nightclubs and everything like that. But what about the rest of it? What's going on in the rest of the world? If I put my blinders on, I could have ignored that whole thing. I could have never went downtown and seen what it was like. Or having seen it, I could have denied that I ever did see it. Or having seen it, I could have said, Medellín is just brutal. It's the humanity of it. It's heartbreaking, which, in some form it is. That's the reality of the situation. Despite all that, or perhaps because of that, in some way, I still love Medellín. I love that city. It's an amazing city. Now, of course, and not just speaking literally here. That's all real. That all happened. But this is a parable. Sometimes people say to me, how can you think there is a God when there's so much suffering in the world? I'm sure a lot of you have heard that argument, or that question. And here's the thing, it's just like with Medellín. I mean, we don't understand what God's purposes are, what the universe's purposes are, or whatever you want to call it. We don't understand the entire picture. We don't have the big picture. We don't really know what's going on. That's why people say things like God works in mysterious ways, because we have to kind of do our best to try to figure out a little plot of land and what's what's going on there. Now, as I said, despite the suffering, despite the brutality, the humanity of the situation, I love Medellín. And it's the same with the world. And in fact, I would say you can't really love something unless you see the brutality. When you see that dark side, that side that maybe many would try to shy away from, that is when you really know the meaning of love, of heart. My friend Luis said to me, I don't know who he was quoting, he said, your heart must be broken many times before it breaks open. Now, who among us has the courage to love completely, even when our hearts have been broken so many times? Who would take that leap? Who would move that deeply into beauty? That's all I have to say. Thank you for listening, and thank you for doing your best to love, even when it's difficult, even when it's strange, even maybe when it's senseless. Thank you.
A beautiful thought.
Thank you for listening. Please remember that you can subscribe on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts. If you feel like it, then go ahead and share this podcast with your friends so they can enjoy it as much as you have. And have a great day.